Off the back of that, there's another actual clip here, courtesy of Chuckie. Big up Chuckie from the podcast he does with Poet. I don't know the name of it, but Chuckie sat down and had some of his opinions regarding the whole issue. And again, this is another horrible take, by the way. Another really bad take from, again, industry people have been giving some of the worst takes regarding the Ghetts situation, mostly because they're friends with Ghetts. But I still think if you're a friend with somebody, I think your best bet is just to keep quiet. Your best bet is just to not say anything publicly, support your friend privately if need be, but there's nothing you can say publicly that's going to quell anybody's frustration, that's going to answer any questions, that's not going to make you look crazy. So just shut the fuck up. That's what I would have done. If I'm his friend, shut the fuck up, support your friend personally, come to terms with what he or she may have done, and try to move past it if possible. But the girls I'm seeing now, they just can't handle it, you know what I mean? They just cannot fucking handle it. So let's play the clip of Chuckie talking about the Ghetts drive-by situation and trying to make sense of it. I guess he's trying to make sense of it without really giving any credence to the victim, which is some people have said to be a little bit callous and to be something that kind of is indicative of the UK music industry scene, where people are like, you know, they'll bend over backwards to defend anyone that's a bit famous or got some clout or has maybe had a couple good freestyles and tunes back in the day.
And because of that, when you go through all of the list of the things that could potentially happen that is beyond your control, in this life that we're living, which is a techie one, and it's a lot more easier said than done.
Is it a techie one though, really? Just don't drink and drive, mate. It's not that hard. It's a techie one. I don't think it is a techie one, mate. Just don't drink and drive.
Easier said than done. You put yourself at a deficit if you start putting things that you can control on top of the things that you can't control, because then there becomes a plethora of things that...
What's that? What was that word?
of things, a plethora of things that can end up happening that derails the day completely, that will change the course of your whole life. And
derails the day. Look, so what, is he pissed off for Ghetts because he couldn't go to the gym? He couldn't go in a cold plunge or something. He couldn't do kettlebell swings. He couldn't do some back squats. He couldn't do some isolation work. He couldn't do fucking traps, buys and sides, whatever. Like, come on, bro. He killed somebody, man. He killed somebody and callously, heartlessly drove off without even stopping to double check if the kid's okay, to call the ambulance. Even when he went back home, he didn't call the ambulance. You know what I mean? Like nothing. Not when it happened. Didn't stop and minister aid. Nothing. Just drove off, hoping that it wasn't a human. Hoping that it was something like. Come on, man. Come on. And I remember as well. If you're on social, you remember. I remember on social early doors, there was word going around. I think it was I think somebody close to Ghetts was trying to put out a counter narrative that allegedly Ghetts wasn't behind the wheel. It was his friend who was trying to protect. He didn't want to get his friend in trouble, so he didn't want to say nothing, and he's taking the blame for his friend or something. I'm sure some of you guys know if you were around when the story broke on social, but honestly, man, this is honestly bullshit.
On one hand, I look at the family, obviously, of the boy, of that, you know, that situation is obviously
you've been to Mang
going to change the course of their whole life, and then I look at somebody who I'm a fan of. Forget like how cool I am, just a fan of, and the things that I know that this person.
Forget how cool I am, okay? This is a Hall of Fame bad response. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know it was this bad. This is a Hall of Fame bad response. What the fuck is he talking about right now?
Had lined up to know that in this moment of recklessness now, everything changes. Everything changes. Even selfishly for me as a fan of the things that I knew that was coming, none of that becomes a thing anymore. It's not something that we will one day be able to get to talk about on the pod and celebrate, like being able to sit here and celebrate some of our goats and superheroes and whatever else. That's why I felt so strongly about what had happened, and it completely just derailed my day. But I just say all of that to...
Oh no, someone's death, some innocent kid's death at the hands of some reckless person's drunk driving ruined Chuckie's day. Tears in the chat.
Say, look, obviously, healing energy to the family and to the boy.
Obviously, you understand why people are upset about that. Horrible response. They probably would have been better off just not talking about it completely. I don't think they have the emotional range or depth to talk about this without relating it back to their friend Ghetts, who's a famous rapper and MC and shit. So terrible response from these guys, and glad that they somewhat try to walk it back and explain it vis-a-vis these screenshots that I've got on here to show you. Chuckie says the following: I understand the outrage from the clip. The pod was recorded one day after the incident was announced on 9 and released 4 days later. News cycles move fast. The video of the madness was so new, a part of me wasn't sure it was even real, to be honest. The internet is weird like that. Okay, you don't want it to be real because it's your friend, obviously, but you don't need to keep these thoughts to yourself. You don't need to share them, you know. That's basically the fucking crux of it. A day after that announcement, I'm personally going into recording day thinking about Yubin being killed. Ghetts, a person I've had an insane level of respect for 2 decades. We don't care though. We don't, like, all of us know who Ghetts are. All of us know who Ghetts is, aka Ghetto. We all know who he is. We're all familiar with his work. That's not really what's important right now. What's important is that this guy, like, did the madness, got behind the wheel when he was clearly fucked up beyond belief, probably blackout drunk, and decided to drive home at crazy speeds, putting himself and others at risk, and most likely having many close shaves prior to the Yubin Tamang, collision, and ended up crashing into a young student just minding his business on the way back home. You know, that's the really tragic part about this whole fucking story. So no one cares how long you've known Ghetts for. I'm not gonna lie, respectfully, no one cares. My cousin who got left dead in the streets the exact same way. Naturally, the emotions are conflicting. No, they wouldn't be conflicting though, would they? If your cousin that you've known since your whole life died from a hit and run incident, you wouldn't be siding with the guy that did the hit and run that you've known for 2 decades. Surely you'd be siding with your family, because that you'd imagine you've probably seen firsthand what that loss has done to the immediate family and extended family, even however many years after the fact. So I think that's a horrible thing to include in your excuse or reasoning there. Then the final post, he said, X is not the place for nuance though. Don't blame the platform, blame your inability to communicate. Honestly, don't blame the platform. Use your words better. I know that, but yeah, I understand. What happened was absolutely barbaric. 20 years later, I still think heavily about my cuz, so I can definitely imagine how this will be for his parents. Love to his family. So I guess at least he did apologize and try to walk it back. ZZ Mills, I don't think did. To be fair to her, I don't think she did at all. She probably doesn't give a fuck about what people say about her opinion, which was drastic, obviously demonstrably wrong. But I just feel like this is another indication, representation of just how clout obsessed, fame obsessed, status obsessed we are here in the UK, where if you're famous, if you've got a name about you, people will literally turn the other way, look the other way, won't necessarily care to call you out and serve it, especially if you're liked. A good example is like Dizzy, innit? Dizzy Rascal got convicted, if I'm not mistaken. He served time in fucking prison for domestic violence, and he came out and didn't miss a beat, still back out there, still performing, do whatever he wants to do. So it's like, I think for whatever reason, the UK has this like weird thing with celebrity, we put it on a real fucking high pedestal. And if you know how to kind of work it to your advantage, you can essentially have a career like Skepta, where you're very rarely called out for any indiscretions that you do, because people love you, they like what you do, they might be intimidated by you, whatever, but you just got a certain level of clout, certain level of notoriety, where people tend to kind of not try and create narratives or report stuff on you because they don't want anyone to say anything bad to them in person. So again, terrible situation. Terrible situation for everybody involved. Thoughts and feelings go out to Yubin Tamang. Thoughts and feelings go out to Yubin Tamang and his family. What a horrible situation.